Again, my name is Tom Cross, and I'd like to thank PhoneSuite for allowing me to present today. Are you ready for something new? And so we're going to talk a lot about a lot of different things out there, and basically we're going to get started with what is unified communications, what are some of the benefits to hospitality operators, and not just the tech, but real TCO or total cost of ownership and return on investment. And then the top 10 actionable items in tech trends for 2015. Is researched and developed by Techtionary. My name is Tom Cross, and you can follow me on Twitter if you're interested. But what happened was that I started to do this, and I've been doing UC for seriously 20 plus years. I do have proof to building, DOS-based, phone dialers and electronic communications across local area networks, and I wanted to find out. Started to ask people, what does UC mean to you? And so I came up with all these different kind of concepts, and so here's just a few of what I found out. You may have others, and you may think that it's not this or that or what have you, but the more I dug into this, the more I found that, wait a second, UC means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And so I'm trying to figure out what it really does mean for me too. And so you kind of think through some of the issues, and is it screen sharing, push messaging, over-the-shoulder sharing, video calls, etc. I'm not going to read all these things. I found that walkie-talkie was perceived as one of the great benefits out there, video mail, conference calling, and these are just some of them out there. GPS is considered part of the thing because we are, in fact, a mobile society out there. And then you kind of add in other things. And yesterday and this week, kind of the hot news this week was basically I call emoticon wars between Skype came out with a whole list of new emoticons, and Apple came out with their new list, which included diversity in the racial, appearance of the emoticons out there. And so when you think about unified communications, well, is it just, me talking or me sharing some stuff, or is it me using what I consider hieroglyphics to explain how things work? So there's a lot of things going on out there in social media and also in the UC space that you're perceived in the hospitality space of how you both basically can share information between you and other people. And so one of the things we find certainly across the hospitality space and the travel industry is certainly rewards programs. If you don't have rewards programs, and now you need to have a rewards app. And so we're going to kind of get in that in a moment, but rewards programs is a must-have. And then what is really kind of driving the next level of engagement, and this is where we're going to spend most of our time, is gamification and artificial intelligence. And I have an article if you want to email me, and I can share with you what I wrote on this. So you kind of integrate this all together. Certainly advertising, promotion, call to actions, things like that. That's all certainly part of UC. People don't argue about that. Beacons is the next generation of we'll call location services, where there's a device connected via Bluetooth to your mobile thing, so when you walk past it, just like the Tom Cruise movie, that you are displayed with certain kind of advertising benefits and call to actions. So payments, nearly most apps out there have incorporated, Apple Pay or some sort of new payment system out there. The last part, as we kind of get down towards the user data, is basically called micro information. Does UC have, in fact, a role in tracking your blood pressure or health activities or your fitness? So we'll get through the top 10 issues and impacts. Timing is just the real king. Just enough, just in time. This is a graphic from IBM. And what they wanted to show here was, here's the person with their mobile phone. It's a little hard to read, but that's the way the graphic worked out. And showed that the person could get a call to action, a coupon, or some sort of other push notification for a discount. And this is where things are going in shopping. One of the things that an article came out that is really kind of nuts when you think about it. There are apps out there that track your location, and if they see that you're near a competitor's store, they will in fact send you a new call to action to give you a bigger discount. So you come to that store, not the store you originally intended to go to. So I call that one of the top trends in this area is ABCs. I've got always be closing. So you've got to always be closing your client or your customer in some particular activity or benefit. Relevance in this area is how we kind of can redefine communications so that the right context and the push message can be tailored to your specific needs rather than mass communications. So in other words, that's where things have also gone drilling down is to I want to be engaged with a customer on a very personal basis. I don't want to see them as a mass thing. I want to see them as an individual. And so in that environment, we all want to kind of, my ABC here is always be connecting, always be some way connecting with that customer. And if you've seen the growth in, and somebody asked me yesterday about WhatsApp, and this was a leading, a publisher in the United States. And what's all this thing about Facebook's WhatsApp? Well, outside the United States, where bandwidth is precious, chatting is probably the only way because voice takes up too much bandwidth. We all assume that we've got 50 megabytes of bandwidth, but in some places they don't have any. And so in that case, WhatsApp is in chat text messaging is really an app for that because the carriers have certainly charged a lot for text messaging. So that's why it emerged as a major force out there. And I'm not going to talk about Snapchat and Instagram and all the rest of stuff until a little bit later. Contacts offer customers a few upgrades, rewards, or points all the time. In other words, if someone calls you up and they're as mad as heck, and I've got my own company I'm really mad at today, so and they've done nothing to engage me to continue to be with them as a customer. My saying for a long time is that the customer may not always be right, but they will always be the customer. And so you need to be always engaged with that customer, because if they don't, just like I did with this company and we've done with some of the cable operators, etc., people go to social media with this. They Twitter this. They put it on social media, and that has a deleterious effect on their public relations. Who needs to have someone Twittering with me, in my case, only 5,600 followers, but those things get shared with a lot of people around the world. Call to actions, a major thing. Always thinking of call to actions. If you can't think of something to say, think of something for them to do, right? Get them engaged. In Colorado, if you probably heard of Colorado and Washington, I worked with one client, and they want to promote cannabis, cannabis lollipops. And so think about it. How do you engage with the customer in that particular geographic area where marijuana happens to be illegal? You may not think of it, but they thought it was a pretty cool idea, and it's got a pretty good reaction. All right. High value CTAs. Call to actions are really great. You can do those every day, every way. Think of ways to involve your customers in call to actions, and always be in a call to action. It's not too hard to think of something to do. This one, I like to keep things current, so this just emerged yesterday. Here's Expedia, launches Expedia Plus to heighten customer engagement. So all of a sudden, we're going to start talking about this. In fact, here's kind of things where people are talking about trends and concepts. But always think about how you can engage through that customer even more. We'll make these slides available as part of the presentation afterwards. Color, I like to think of this as one aspect of it, in a sense that what you want to do is thinking of ways to communicate with that person in their own style of language. We're now more of a global audience out there, and so I have a saying that communication will always fail except by chance. And even as Americans, and even if you're ever married or involved with a relationship, you understand what you said is not what is heard. And so one needs to think about how those kind of issues and impacts can take effect. I like to think of this one as, why not put yourself in the other person's moccasins? Try to think of the communications that they want to hear and how they want to hear it. And so that's my ABC here, is always be considerate of the other person. And whether you're communicating with them personal communications, email, IM, or whatever, always think of ways to better involve them and improve that communications process. Compliance, pretty straightforward. I've taught social media classes which have been approved by the Colorado Supreme Court. And when you get involved in the legal process, keep in mind that anything you say do is going to be saved, tracked, and in fact involved in some form of discovery. So keep in mind that, and one of the things we always do in our social media classes, and I think is appropriate here, is to make sure that there is really strong and thoroughly understood legal compliance by all staff and employees. You don't want your employees bad-mouthing you, and that could have a very bad impact on your business. It's also, can be involved in discovery, so keep that in mind. So always be in compliance. Organizational. Survey says the number of issues that people say they're not really feeling involved or out of the loop. And so how do we engage people in hospitality? There are case studies out there, IBM, Cisco, and others that are high tech. They have found that rewards and gamification programs have been proven to work for staff as even better than sometimes with customers. Again, the type of game that you're trying to do. Cisco had a game they'd used for sales training that was very, very successful. So keep in mind that these kind of rewards programs can go inward as well as outward, as well as and sometimes even suppliers. Keep those in mind. So in this case, my ABC here, my takeaway is always be collaborative with other people you're working with. Language, it goes back to, communication will always fail except by chance. Lots of languages out there. Understand that one of the fascinating things in this UC space, and it was mentioned in the list on languages, that Skype has in fact now different multi-language, real-time language translation. And when you talk to people about that who are really multilingual, they go, how is that really going to work? Well, it's hard to say, but I do admire them that they're taking unified communications to the language space and being effective across multi-language barriers out there. In this case, the ABC is always be congenial. Tech, anything we can imagine, and then something we didn't. These are actually pretty old slides that I've had for a long time, but just kind of go back 20 years and try to think to yourself 20 years from now, or even 5 years from now, what kind of technology are we going to have out there? And in this case, the satellite dish may not be appropriate, but when you think about how satellite technology could be used in a mobile environment with our vehicles, could be very effective. Same thing with artificial implants and things like that installed inside of us. So think of this, the ABC here is always be changing or challenging the norm. Think of things in the future. The bottom line, what I like to think about as UC is unified customer communications. It's not about how you communicate with your staff, it's how you are communicating with your customers. And so in this case, the ABC is always be customer engaged. All right, now we're on to the top 10 tech trends. Top trend, tech trend number 1, not mobility, but mobile engagement. Everyone is mobile. Everyone assumes that part. We all know that we're all mobile. We all have mobile phones. Some people are multi-mobile, both with, multiple, smartphones, but also multiple tablets. And so one needs to think about how one needs to redesign your programs, apps, and things like that for the mobile client out there. So, and that's not going to go away. It's only going to be more mobile. In fact, IBM's big announcement yesterday was their 4 major areas of emphasis are social, mobile, cloud, and security. So social mobile is their first 2, and so I think when you think of all the other companies, social mobile would be a phenomenal thing to focus your efforts on as well. Engagement programs, rewards programs work. The evidence is full out there, and it's amazing what kind of results people are achieving for these kinds of things, whether you're Pizza Hut, Pharmaca, fast casual, it all works. It works to engage the customer through some form of rewards or engagement program. It's just fascinating to see how well they do out there. Here's some real return on investment, sales competition, increased participation, had long-standing impact outward, not just during the event. So in fact, this is where you have that I call a halo effect, an effect that has a long-lasting value. People I work with struggle with the concept of marketing. Marketing is what I call top of mind, keeps you first in line. People wonder about why does Taco Bell and McDonald's and everybody else do all these types of advertising. It's because they want to lock in on the customer. They want to have a bear trap on that customer, but they realize that they're not going to eat at McDonald's every day. On the other hand, they want to make sure to remind them to come back to McDonald's, so they're always coming up with new programs for that. Because you lose a customer, it's going to be tough to get them back. Just out yesterday from Harvard Business Review, there it is. Marketing is dead and loyalty killed it. And what they really are saying in this whole article, to summarize, is that marketing really isn't dead. It's just that we've kind of refocused into, in fact, they put in here that it's not a CMO anymore. Everybody's kind of getting used to that CMO term, Chief Marketing Officer. Well, no, it's not CMO anymore. It's CLO. I thought that was the Chief Learning Officer, but no, it's the Chief Loyalty Officer. So all of a sudden, we're now focusing on that. And there's no greater company I can point to that has really kind of got all this thing together is Starbucks. They're considered the #1 app out there. 5 million people involved in the rewards programs. 2.1 million mobile transactions per week. It just works. And so they continue to do that through all multi-modes, through email pushes, push notifications, all the rest of the stuff. And here's their thing. As for return on investment, Brockman noted that the web, mobile, and social efforts combine to give us a lower cost of marketing per customer. So it's not just a top end, but it's also bottom below the line, which drops straight to the bottom line. So it really does work. And so meanwhile, the loyalty programs give Starbucks a lot of data insights, and that's what other people find. And what are they really seeing? And you may have heard about their 2 new programs they've just announced in the last 3 months, and this is how aggressive they are in this area. Is that one in Portland, they're doing test driving call ahead. And they're going nationwide with home delivery. So obviously home delivery is big on all kinds of fronts. We'll talk about that more in a second. But think about it. Order ahead. And my survey said is that we took about 500 people, and they go, oh, of course. Seriously, who ever wants to stand in line for anything? So why not engage that customer by saying, look, you let us know it's going to be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, what have you. Yeah, it may not be the freshest. I had some baristas go, well, it may not be fresh. Well, frankly, it's better than standing in line to get to the order and then standing in another line to get to the coffee. That's a lot of time that's, I can capture back. Tech number 2, gamification business, mobile customer engagement, bricks to clicks and web to mobile customers who use the Walmart app more often than frequently Walmart than other competitors. So in other words, what we do out there is engage and then think of ways to engage those things. We've been working with clients to see how they can think of different point kind of systems, creating new kind of ways to engage that customer. It's not just the rewards point. I think, frankly, Old Chicago, which is a pizza chain you may have heard of, has over 1 million members in their rewards program. And what they found is that people don't really care about the points as much as they feel in competition with other people in the game. So in other words, again, it's not so much about the rewards themselves, but they feel like they're involved in some sort of gaming process. So this means that we want to get out from behind the desk and engage with customers. And so we know that the hospitality industry has got a lot of things to cover out there. Check-in, check-out, folios, payments. But one of the things that we're seeing out there is certainly Facebook integration. On the right here, you'll see social lobby, and the lower left, loyalty. So we see those kinds of things engage with that. And the loyalty programs are not just for the property, it's for other local businesses. And so one of the case studies that came out was Mandarin Oriental is now engaged with other local businesses for just obviously reservations and other types of things, but also engaging that person for additional points for their rewards, their own rewards program. All right, gamification can be used for instant rewards for both staff and customers, and I think it's really kind of exciting to think about how you can kind of combine those together. We have talked to different companies about that, and it seems to me that no one's got it all figured out. So today, gamification is like a myriad of online computer games that exist in many forms, and how it will change in the future, hard to say. But we do think that as you move into the next level of customer engagement, we think of new ways to do that. And one of the ways could be, adding some sort of, involved with other types of technologies. Tech number 3 is wearable. So in this sense, you will be wearing something. You will be wearing more and more tech. You already are using more and more tech. If you don't, you've got a smartphone in your hand, and that's got probably more computing power than we had, as children, right? So what we find out there is Google Glass is not a failure, but only a test drive. They found out what the consumer was really looking for and what the consumer really did not like. They did not like being recorded without their knowledge and privacy and a whole bunch of other issues. This is from Sony. It's about half the price, $800, and you can see it's not just a cordless thing. It's tied to some sort of battery out there. There's going to be a whole myriad of other different types of wearable technologies out there, and how they kind of change our behavior, change our thinking. Well, maybe we should kind of look back for a second. Not just outer wearables, but under wearables and inner wearables. I use this as one of my examples of Dick Tracy. This is from the 30s, two-way wrist TV. Well, Seiko in the 80s had one-way whisk TV, so in this sense, but the two-way TV is going to be a struggle because of the battery. So even though we talk about it, doesn't mean it's always there. On the other hand, we can certainly put technology in certain other devices that have a lot of room for batteries, shoes, and things like that. The real push is obviously with the things coming up about fitness, health, and all the rest of the stuff. But on the other hand, when you think about the kind of things we wear and use, this is an example of what Gucci was thinking about for one of their shoes, putting the technology in the shoes. And certainly the big announcement, which is going to release, March 9th, is going to be the Apple Watch. And they're going to make you want to wear their watch. I mean, they certainly made you want to carry their phone and have their iPad and their MacBooks and all the rest of the stuff. They want you to do everything. And what I like to think about is the micro information that they're going to drill down to you. Home doors locked, temperature's 95, no rain in the forecast, your blood pressure is 200 over 130, and death is forecasted. So you can think about, maybe it will help save lives. There was a runner who died here in Boulder, 2 weeks ago, and so maybe, somebody on the running path by himself could have pushed the button and, gotten help. The reason I bring up Disney is because they are the best at all this total content integration. I started working with them 15 years ago in the broadband content delivery forum, and they were focused in on that. Then toys, travel, theme parks, movies, toy gear, etc. And so they are the penultimate, in my mind, ultimate content builder, and will likely continue to be so. And obviously, with a 70% return rate, it works. The next area is what are called beacons, and the idea of beacons is these are the little called iBeacons, and they run as cheap as $1 or less, and they're put onto a device. In this case, it's a thin film type of beacon. It uses Bluetooth to connect to another smartphone or other device to get alerting. And so in this case, every device, every product will have some sort of beacon device, and it says, hey, buy me, here's more information about my product, and let me tell you about our benefits of our product, So next, Microsoft HoloLens, they're kind of not wanting to miss out on this, but think about it. This is a good example of how you could incorporate hospitality. As you can kind of see, Maui, they show a picture of a hotel. That could be your property. So we can kind of see that somebody's just walking through their kitchen and seeing, oh, yeah, how'd you like to come visit this really cool property, on a beach or somewhere else? So you can kind of see this blended concept of content integration that exists out there. Track number 4 is hacked. You or somebody will know will be hacked personally, and so that's just, you may not be hacked yourself, but you may know someone who will be. All right, tech number 5, social is not finished, final, or friendly. We're still on the Model T of Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and WhatsApp, and all the rest of the stuff. And so what we see out there is a whole next generation of, we'll call it gamification issues and things like that. For example, General Electric has a chief experience officer. Tech number 6, automate and mobilize all jobs. All jobs, hospitality included, will be automated, and they have drone waitresses out there, so think about that. And just in today, 2/3 of customers, catch this, expect drone delivery in the next 5 years. And look at the last part, 80% are willing to pay for it. Think about this. At some point, we've had everybody delivering, pizzas and all the rest of the stuff, but all of a sudden, now we're going to have all these drones flying over our houses. It's going to be kind of crowded skies when one drone runs into another, and whose product's going to get sued there? So, websites are dead, and mobilized websites are deader. So the next key point is appetizers are the number 7, where we're going to be basically moving everything to an app for that. That seems to be the major trend because it gives you greater customer control. You may say that it doesn't, it's harder to maintain all the rest of the stuff. On the other hand, if you've used any apps out there, they're pretty powerful, and they're much more powerful for content delivery systems. Now, you can integrate your website into an app. On the other hand, that's really not really where it's at, and so you kind of look at where all the different hotels, hospitality apps that exist out there. It's not just about hotels, it's about hotel games. And so do a quick search on iTunes and you'll find all kinds of things out there. And so you take all these things and kind of smash them together and you'll find, you know, where things might exist in the next 5 years. Tech number 8 is IoT. I don't call it Internet of Things. It's clutter management. You know, internet. We already have the Internet of Things. What we really want to do is, you know, is kind of clean up our act here. Clutter is just driving everybody crazy with all these different devices, etc. You know, one of the things that the PhoneSuite people pointed out was, like, you know, they try to provide a simplified solution and simplified order for their solutions as well. And so that helps you kind of integrate, you know, unified communications right at your desk. Tech trend number 9, not content management, but context management systems. This is from Easy A, which, if you've seen the movie, it's totally hilarious. It's all about misunderstanding of things. And if you are a favorite of Jon Stewart, you know, that's one of his things, is that what content needs to be is, why should I read this? Again, what do I need to know now to do my job today? And so part of that process is making sure that when you write content, you're not just writing blather. I moderate, you know, a lot of LinkedIn groups, and I do a lot of Twitter, and I read a lot, amazing amount of stuff that really is just blather. It really makes no sense and doesn't help me make a decision either one way or the other. Tech trend number 10, wildcards. You cannot react nor predict trends. You can only direct your customer to your strategy before your customers do. You know, I learned that 30 years ago. That's how IBM works. They really focus in on directing their customers to their strategy. They're not trying to do everything, but they want to make sure that customer is totally connected with them at the hip. And if you don't understand that, you do understand this logo. And so that's, you know, those wild cards that who would have thought, you know, Airbnb and certainly all the taxi drivers and all the rest of the stuff, that whole thing is just changing the world dramatically. Last slide. I thought this was virtual reality. It's kind of the way people are starting to perceive all this technology and technical challenge and trying to be on the grid or off the grid. And so the last slide, a little bit about us. We build apps and we help people do different things. So again, I'm going to pass this off to Jerry for his part of the presentation. And away you ready, Jerry? Up we go.
That interesting presentation on the unified messaging and how it's shaping technologies today. My name is Jerry Moore. I'm a sales engineer here at PhoneSuite, and I'd like to talk about how some of these technologies affect us and bring it home as to what we do and how these things can help your business as a hotelier and as a reseller. So we'll talk around those objects as we go. So what does PhoneSuite do? Basically, we specialize in a very small niche of the telecom world. We make PBXs and phone systems for hospitality. So hotels, motels, some restaurant-type scenarios, also assisted living centers, but primarily, maybe 99% into hotels. So we do that a variety of ways. We have been manufacturing for a long time, since 1990. We offer premise-based PBXs as well as cloud-based solutions that allow us to use the internet capabilities. And we're able to do that now because of some of the trends that have been around in the communications business. Tom touched on some of these. Just to kind of reinforce it is the increasingly reliable and available broadband. It's even cheaper now. We're able to get very good Ethernet pipes into properties and not rely on things like DSL, where we're forced to deal with whatever the best effort from the telco or cable co would be. But we're seeing more and more acceptance of voice over IP as a business medium, and we're using it in a variety of ways. We're using cloud-based systems such as Salesforce, Skype, you name it. A lot of cloud-based technology out there now that people are used to using, and this allows us easier management of all these really complex systems, but at the same time we're able to lower the cost. So it's a wonderful mix of things that have come together that have allowed us to offer voice systems for hotels in a whole new way. So in hotels, you have a unique set of requirements that really don't exist in other businesses, and that's one of the reasons we specialize into it. And one of the first things, of course, is we got to have customers and guests have their expectations. And in 2015, those expectations are a whole lot different than they were 20 years ago. Nowadays, your customer expects to walk in and have unlimited free Wi-Fi, just as much as he can use, and have it anywhere. 20 years ago, if you got it at all, that was outstanding. Now people assume that you're going to have it everywhere and you can use it at will and you won't be blocked. You want easy use of reservation systems. And but what I mean by that is able to use their smartphone to get to you and set up reservations without actually talking to somebody, or if they do talk to somebody, get a very quick confirmation and understand exactly what's going on. Once they're in that hotel, they want instant access to everything. And again, they want it to mobile devices such that they can see what's around them. They can get live reviews. They can find out what's going on in the hotel itself as well as in the city and town around it. So it is something that kind of relates back to what Tom was talking about, the increasing reliance and importance of mobile. They expect a value for the dollar. They're going to shop to death. They're always looking for that value. They'll depend more on reviews that they get of your property than they probably will on any other advertisement. But those reviews in large case are based on the above items. So it pays to have your broadband pipe ready for this kind of thing and be prepared to understand the needs of these guests. And of course they want to be treated special. So once they've stayed at your hotel, they want you to send them a coupon for 10% off their next stay, or get them into the newsletter for that property, or perhaps the town itself. So those are the kind of things your guests expect that are different than what we had before. Management functions is also changing very quickly here. So we can talk about what does the ownership want. And of course, what any business wants, they're looking for very smooth operations. But in hotels, it's a bit even more important, because you have the front desk that needs to be able to respond not only to phone calls from the outside world, but people in their face looking to get things done and asking questions and needing service at all times. So the operations at the front desk have to be perfect, they have to be smooth, and they have to be available. For that to happen, the phone system as well as all systems at the front desk need to be very easy to use, easy to train. They have to be very efficient, such that we're not duplicating resources, like especially on the network level. And of course, cost containment. Can't stress enough that hotels are always looking for new ways to save money on every aspect of what they're doing. And now in the internet-related world, security of all communications becomes even stronger and more important as you go. So those are some of the requirements that you've got in hotels that you just don't have anywhere else, at least as a whole. And that's what you have to keep in mind. That's why we're specialized into the system, because that's what we do the most. So who uses PhoneSuite? Hospitality program properties, as I say. We're scalable anywhere from 30 to 3,000 rooms using very similar platforms. So as people grow and adjust, they can continue using the platforms that are familiar to them. So franchises and corporate-owned brands. So all the major brands you're familiar with, IHG, which is the corporate entity of Crown Plaza, Holiday Inn Express, for instance. New to us now, but also approved as Hilton brands, so the DoubleTrees, the Hampton Inns of the world, and another 4,500 hotels under Hilton's brands come in. We've long been associated with Best Western Hotels, Choice Hotels. We're installed in Marriott's, America's Best, and Wyndham Properties, and even more beyond that. So around the U.S., we've got over 4,200 systems installed in the U.S., actually in North America. So should say in Canada, U.S., and Mexico is where our biggest footprint is. We're a little bit overseas as well. And some of those other properties, timeshares, extended stay hotels, they're all coming into play. Some new markets that are just beginning to emerge is assisted living centers. They're getting more and more popular, obviously, as the population matures. many more people going into these, many of these systems being built right now, many of these centers being built, I should say, needing systems that are very similar to what you put into a hotel. So it's a new market. It's beginning to grow. So if you're a reseller, why sell a PhoneSuite? Well, we are installed, like I said, in 4,200 rooms, so or 4,200 properties throughout North America. We're priced very competitively to sell against our larger competitors. We're much smaller company than our competitors, much quicker, much more agile, and able to work quickly with our resellers to get installations done right the first time. Been an approved vendor for all this stuff for some time, so we do know our game. Since 1988, we've been doing this job in hospitality only. And you, as the installer or the reseller, you bring the expertise you have already to install this kind of equipment and understand IP networking, and you understand the needs of hospitality properties, staffs, and guests. So if you've been around hotels installing phone systems, you realize their unique requirements, and we want to work with you, and that's why you need to work with us. We offer lead generation. We do that in a variety of ways. The sales team and I are traveling around the country at all times, going to various trade shows, both for the branded hotels as well as independent trade shows where we're making ourselves known. Once we go to these trade shows and we find leads, then we push them out to our resellers and help you generate new business out of them. We offer co-op marketing, which just means a portion of the funds that you sell of our equipment will reimburse to you, so you can use that in marketing ads, be they printed, be they web, be they simple as a mail campaign. We'll help you pay for the kind of marketing that gets more systems sold. We offer technical training in-house. In fact, certification training. You cannot sell our IP product without being certified. And that keeps you, as a potential reseller, unique position. Not just everybody can sell this and buy it from us at wholesale and then take it to the customer. They have to pass our certification, and that means they understand the product and all the unique properties that come with it. So again, we rely on our hospitality-specific system and focus and bring that to you as a very unique proposition to sell PhoneSuite to customers. So PhoneSuite, we were developed and designed by engineers way back at that time. Those engineers that developed it were former Western Electric employees, so they brought a long line of experience into the designs that they were bringing. We know about telephones and hotels because it's all we do. We have features that are most requested. We interface, and importantly, we interface with PMS systems, property management systems that most hotels use. We offer some of these acronyms: auto attendant, voicemail, SIP phones, and SIP trunks, as well as an IP-based browser console. So we provide very cost-effective solutions, competitive price points, and we take advantage of new technology as it makes sense in hotels. Hotels in hospitality in general have always been somewhat slow to adopt new technology, and that's mostly because of their very unique needs. But we're right there with them. We're driving forward with the best advantages that newer technology can bring, and we're delivering it to the hotel in a way that makes sense to them, not only in terms of efficiency, but in terms of cost. So things we offer hotel owners, there's SIP trunking involved. Now, you can get that with our system, or you can buy it through other providers. At any rate, we're capable of adding SIP trunking to our IP systems as we go, which gives you a huge choice on who you use for your SIP trunking, and the cost of that is far less than what the comparable analog solution was in the past. So this is one way you can justify purchasing new equipment to replace your outdated equipment, is the money you save using SIP trunking and SIP devices. It's kind of a repeat, but also in hotels, very specific functionality. Wake-up call is a very precise feature that is only used in hotels, and we deliver that along with all the necessary features and functions you would need as a hotelier. System users can be local or remote. By that I mean with IP phone systems, you can transfer calls not only to any phone or extension inside the property, but also off-site to cell phone numbers, smartphone numbers, and so on. We offer call center functionality, and what that means is if you have a reservation system within your hotel, we can queue calls up to a limited number of agents. We can play messages and music to those people that are in those queues, letting them know their status in the queue, as well as offering them a way out so they can leave a message for the reservation centers to call them back instead of waiting around. We're also able to record all calls on an as-needed basis. So I can say I need to record calls for just these extensions on just these days, and so maybe that'll help me train my users so they can listen to themselves and listen along with the supervisor to find out the things they're doing right, as well as the things they can improve on. We offer the best warranty out of the box in the business, and that's 2 years out of the box. Covers everything other than on-site visits should there be a physical problem that we can't fix remotely. So we replace outdated technology. Many systems that we're replacing every day are 30+ years old. So they're due, and it gives you a variety of good reasons to switch. You can bring your own phone. It plays well with all kinds of SIP phone providers. There's many of them. Polycom and Yealink are but two that we are certified with and have software hooks written directly into our system for. But there's a number of them out there that will also work, SNOM, Cortelco, Grandstream, and others. That will all work, and we encourage you to bring your own. If we don't know about it, we'd like to hear about any brands that we don't know and test them in our labs with our system. So it's not just a phone system for a hotel, it's a complete communication solution. It is internet-centric, but survivable in terms of network failures. So one of the things hotels have to be able to do, even if they lose connectivity to, let's say, the internet, guests still need to be able to dial 0, and they still got to be able to dial 911. That's just function number 1 for all hotels. So we've built that kind of survivability into it. It can work with just all kinds of devices, be they cellular, smartphones, whatever. But we've tried to satisfy the unique needs of hotels with this kind of an IT system. To take it one step further, we back up in every system we have out there on a daily basis, such that if for whatever reason your programming is gone, disappears, you have a snapshot of what the system is and what it does, less than 24 hours old, that you can restore over the wire. Or we can send a copy of it directly to a physical installer if need be. We run our own network operations center here at the factory. That's how we do those daily backups. We also proactively will generate emails and reports of any system failures we can monitor remotely with our operations center. So if you're having trouble with a particular phone, particular device, we may well know it at the knock well before it's even something that the hotelier has noticed. So very proud of that. We're very proactive in how we handle trouble calls. So you still have a lot of the basic features or business features, and again, that's one of those unique things about hotels. You have to have all these guest things covered, but you still need to bring the functionality and business features to the hotel staff that make sense for them. So you have some very specialized reports of things like wake-up calls and reservation productivity. Those are unique to the hotel industry. You want to be able to eventually, with IP systems, centralize operations between multiple properties and share those same resources. If you have questions about that, we'd love to talk to you about it. Constant attention to cost containment, as I alluded to in the beginning. We're very well aware of that. The phone system is not necessarily a moneymaker in the sense it used to be, so we want to keep that value proposition very high for the amount of dollars received. And hopefully, if you put these together, we're able to reduce your monthly expense that you're paying out to carriers and things like that, and instead just bring value to the system and reduce your overall expense and justify the purchase of a new system. So some of the new choices that are made possible by these kind of technologies is all this cloud-based technology, if you will. We still run a lot of solutions based at the premise of the hotel itself, but now we're able to offer different ways of paying for it. So if the PBX equipment itself is hosted either in our data center or somewhere else, then we can offer an OpEx versus a CapEx purchase model. And all that means is instead of a capital expenditure up front to purchase the entire PBX, which has been the traditional way of getting this done, now you can go for a smaller upfront cost and stretch out your payment as a service, which is expensable as an operating expense over time. This is very appealing to a lot of hotel customers, obviously for the lack of having to find the upfront cash, but also just the way they can carry it on their books as an operating expense. Of course, you can still do a traditional purchase or lease with us, and we're happy to do that as well. So we offer a wide variety of services and ways in which to purchase and use our product. We'd love to get in touch with you and talk to our sales team. There's our phone number. You can reach us directly there. You can just send a generic to sales@phonesuite.com if you'd like. We certainly encourage you to visit our website at phonesuite.com, and we'd be happy to locate a local reseller for you once you've decided that you'd like to get a quote from us. So certainly do appreciate your time on this webinar today and hope it's been helpful. Please provide any feedback directly to us, and we'll look for you next time.